I'm Kevin Adam. I am the director of Baxter State Park, and I've been in this position for less than 4 months. So my previous experience comes from being a game warden for the Maine Warden Service, and my last 12 years, trying to make sure I got it right, 12 years, I was a lieutenant out of the Greenville Division, and so I was running a division that was, a fifth of the state. Up here, we bordered Baxter State Park. I didn't have Baxter State Park in my division, but about the same number of employees, full-time employees. I probably had a little more, and then not quite the same issues, but a lot of overlap. So for the park director, a lot of my responsibilities actually involve personnel. And we do a lot of overseeing programs and getting people what they need for supplies and equipment, and also just personnel management in general. People doing great things, people doing things that we want to change their behavior. So there's a lot of personnel behind that. And then the next thing I probably do is a lot of budgetary things, working with our budget person and making sure we can do the things we want to do. And we, even though the park is a wilderness park, keeping a wilderness park running for infrastructure, it actually involves extra steps, because we have to work harder to get the same supplies and people to where we want to be. It's not as easy as being in a non-wilderness park. So there's a lot of time doing that. And then we have permits that I have to fill out, people wanting to come in the park and do things, and whether they can come in or whether they can't. So it's been very busy here the first 4 months. Yep. The job requires a good knowledge of how to deal with personnel in a state setting. So there's a lot of contract knowledge, a lot of leadership, management skills. So having that 12 years as a game warden lieutenant is crucial. I don't know that I've done it without that. Being in the state, we're a quasi-state agency, but we follow a lot of the state contracts and procedures and things like that. So having all that is definitely helpful. Anything you can know about the legislature is definitely helpful, because we have bills that affect us, and we have to know, we have to navigate our way through that with the legislature on what we'd like to see occur for Baxter. And then just the state budgeting process in general. Even though we do not take any general fund money, we do still have to submit a budget to the legislature, which they have to approve for our initiatives and for our personnel and equipment and all that. So there's a lot of state overlap in this job with just being a regular state employee. Well, I get to see a lot of people here in the office, which I wasn't before. Before I was a district ranger and I was in the field a lot. So I would see more people in the field. So it's kind of switched now. But I do get to see, my job is different now, where before I was law enforcement person. Now when I go out in the field, I kind of look at things different. I talk to a lot more people, ask them about their experience, and because we want to be able to recreate the same experience that people have now the same 30 years from now. The park really shouldn't change, other than the trees have gotten bigger, and the trails should all be the same. The cabins are the same, the lean-tos are the same, and the road is the same. We really want to keep the same footprint, kind of, not in a static way, because the wilderness is always doing different things, but we still want to keep that wilderness feel and experience. Trying to stay a wilderness in a time, as time goes on, people and times, they make life easier. People want life to be easier. I want it easier to be able to do this activity, and there's new equipment, and so trying to keep a wilderness in times where we don't want cell phone coverage in the park. Okay, I want you to come to the park and actually not be able to get on your cell phone, because I want you to experience what's going on around you. A lot of people, when I go in the park, I see different things, and when other people that go in the park, they probably see different things than me. It all depends on what you're interested in. So there's a rich variety of bird life here. I don't notice plant life as much, but I do notice that the plant life here is different from other places that I've been, just because most of the park hasn't been logged or anything like that. So you can actually walk in some places and see plants that you probably wouldn't anywhere else. And then, just continuing to recreate that old-time wilderness feeling of being out in the park, navigating for yourself, and maybe there are several ponds. Like if you're going to go fishing, you have to portage to, or you have to hike a mile back to. Those are things that we want to continue to recreate long after I'm gone. So. Actually, I like down in the southern end of the park, just past the AT kiosk. You get along the AT there, and you're walking along the Penobscot, and there's a whole bunch of oak. There's an oak grove in there, and I've seen a lot of wildlife in there. I've seen a lot of deer, moose, and it's interesting to walk down there and see some of the things that you don't see in a lot of other areas of the park. I'd like to get up north more and maybe experience some more kind of in that bear area. Not saying there wouldn't be bears down there, but more of the bears seem to be up like towards South Branch and Trout Brook Farm, things like that. But when I walk that section of trail down in the southern end of the park, I usually see some sort of bigger wildlife, big game animal, and especially if the oaks, have acorns that year, which they should this year. I've walked right up on, large bull moose that come down and hang out in there. So it's a really interesting place of the park down there. Yep. I would, to the visitors, I would say that there's so much to do here that you just, you can't do it all in one trip. It would take many, many years to come and experience the whole park. We are just about, 210,000 acres, and there's so many unique, true wilderness areas here that that you could set up a different adventure every day and notice something new that you probably wouldn't see in other wilderness areas. Like I said, plants, things like that, because of logging and things, that these plants need time to grow and flourish. And seeing, really mature beech trees and maples and oaks, and our trees are getting up to 60, 70 years now, which also creates some problems in that they are getting old, and we're getting into a mature forest. But it's really interesting when you walk some of those hardwood ridges and seeing some of those big trees, and you don't experience that in a lot of different places. Oh, really? Yeah, those are the things that we're trying to stay away from. This is a wilderness park, so I don't want it that DoorDash is going to end up coming to A-Ball, campground, things like that. So that's a problem, is people want to come experience the wilderness on their terms, So we wanted them to experience how Percival wanted it, which was, that old time, early, 40s, 30s kind of feel. That's why the tote road is the way it is. It's, like 1.5 lanes, so you've got to pull over and you've got to kind of dodge rocks, and that's how he wanted it to be, and that's how we try to keep it and plan on keeping it. So.